Greetings and welcome to another fun episode of Photoshop Party, and we're going to have a great day today. It's actually not Photoshop, it's going to be Topaz DeNoise and Topaz Sharpening AI. Um, you can do some stuff in Camera Raw, but it just doesn't seem to work the same as these do. You're going to be amazed. So before we get started, let me go into Photoshop real quick. So I need to share screen, Adobe Photoshop. And can everybody see my nice gray screen in Photoshop?
Yes.
Hopefully that's a yes. Good to hear. All right. The Save As feature, let me open up a file real quick. Let's just make a new one. There we go. The Save As feature has been blocked out except for Photoshop, TIFF, and a couple of others. But you can see in mine, I've got all my stuff there. I hit cancel. What you do to get around what Photoshop did in their update is go to Photoshop Preferences to, is it Performance? No. I'm trying to remember now. File Handling. There we go. And on the top layer area, you have Enable Legacy Save As. Enable Legacy Save As. So it's under Preferences, File Handling, Enable Legacy Save As, and it's fixed. So it's back to the old school way of doing it. So just that easy.
So I have a question. Since they blamed it on Apple, how did they get around that and allow us to do that?
Okay, moving right along.
It's
Okay.
never Adobe's fault. Come on.
You know better.
You know this.
That's
Kevin.
That's Kevin Rosnowski with a Z. His Apple or his Photoshop ID is. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in really quick. I'm going to show DeNoise. I have made these images a little bit smaller so they'll run faster. But as you can see, there is a little bit of noise here.
Hey, before you get started, you are starting, but does that supposed to work on Mac too? Because I don't see that on my Mac.
On your Mac, and you're on the latest version of Photoshop?
Yeah.
It should be. I'm on a Mac.
Okay, all right, just never mind, I'll find it then.
Hit Command K and then go to Preferences to File Handling, and you can see on my screen where my cursor's circling.
Wait a second, hold on, I was in my Photoshop. Oh, okay, okay, thanks. I'll find
And that's
it.
in File Handling under Preferences.
File extension. Okay, thanks.
In fact, let me stop sharing for one moment and share screen again. I'm going to go into my desktop so you can see. And we have Photoshop.
On mine either, so maybe you have to have the absolute latest update because I don't see it on mine either.
I think I updated mine last week again. So you
Oh,
might
okay.
check your updates to make sure it's there.
Okay, because yeah, I don't see it. All right, great. Thanks for doing that.
Yep. Latest version is 22.4.2. So if you go into your Adobe Cloud, it'll
22 what?
22.4.2.
Oh, okay, yes, I've got to update mine. Okay.
Okay, I have 22.4.1.
Okay.
That's
So it'll come in the next update.
Okay,
I just happen to be very special, so they update me first and crash my computer before all you guys.
That's very kind of them.
That way we can figure out how to fix it. Okay, I'm going to go to Filter, Topaz Labs, down to Denoise Ai, down at the very bottom of my screen. Click on that. That was Matt Klifkowski's eagle up there, by the way. And what it does on the bottom left, it's running a preview so you can see the difference before you decide whether you want to do it or not. And
Wow.
let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit, go to 200. And you can see there's a little bit of noise there in the original. Oh, I got to run preview again because I zoomed in. That's one of the drawbacks. And then original. Okay, with this, you can change views on it. You can do a split view. So you have before and after, before on the left, after on the right. You can do a side-by-side comparison, which I don't know what it's comparing. Oh, it's updating. Okay. So it's kind of like split view. And you can also do comparison view because there's different noise available. You have severe noise, clear, which is an old version of Topaz Clear. You have low light, and you have standard. So there's 4 different versions of this, and you can pick the one that works the best. For me, severe noise works the best on this, and you can tell which one is going to go update when you look at your 4 different views. You can see severe noise is bright blue, low light, clear, and original are not. They're just plain old highlighted. So I'm going to click OK. And it says processing image soon. Goes from 9 minutes to 3 minutes to 2 minutes to 1 minute. So depending on the speed of your processor, the size of the file, there have been some files that I've gone out and gotten a cup of coffee and a donut. Then I went to lunch, then I went to dinner, and it was ready. But you can see the noise between before and after. It does slightly blur the detail on the cats, but there was not much detail there to begin with. Only because this was shot with a cell phone in low light and it worked. So that's AI DeNoise. Close, don't save, go to bridge. Let's go to my skyline, San Diego skyline. This one I'm not going to run DeNoise on because it's already pretty much, well, it's got a little bit of noise in the sky, but only when you zoom in a whole lot. However, what I'm going to do, when I entered this one in print comp, one of the judges who apparently had his bifocals on backwards said it was soft and out of focus. I'm not going to badmouth any judges today.
You already
Right.
did. A little late for that.
I'll edit that part out. Basically, they said it wasn't sharp enough. In the original images, this has been shrunk down, but on the original images, you can, wait, don't do that. Don't do that. No. You could actually see people in the windows and you can see the elevators and the hallways. This is shrunk down, but we're going to try and sharpen it up a little bit. So we're going to run Topaz Sharpen on it. So I'm going to go to Filter, Topaz Labs, Sharpen AI. Sharpen AI. I love this, except it's very slow. So we're going to go for a short commercial break while we run this. And right now I'm just running one window. I have it set to auto. You can choose whether you want to do auto or pick which one you want to run with. I'm going to run with too soft. I'm not going to do very noisy or blurry because really it's not very blurry in my mind. All my images are fantastic. So it's already updated. It's ready to roll. If I change the view in the preview window, it'll update again. So you have to wait for that to run. And then you can click apply. And it says start at 18 minutes, 5, 3, 2. And I've shrunk this image down so it's a smaller image to run. So it's going to take about a minute to run this one. But while we run a commercial break, I'm going to advertise Miller's Professional Imaging, the best sponsor in the world for me. I love those guys. Their customer service is fantastic. Their delivery time is ridiculous because I sent something to the lab yesterday. It's been shipped and it will be here today. And now that the commercial's over with, you can see, I guess it was slightly out of focus for them. Let me get rid of all those grid lines. And extras. Goodbye, extras. And sometimes it might over sharpen just a little bit to the pixel level, but it also, you can also fade if you don't do anything in between. I've already gone back and forth between the filter and the open, but you can see that it does sharpen quite nicely. There is a slight bit of haloing. So what I would probably do is put it on its own layer, then run it again to make sure that it works. And then you can adjust the layer opacity or the fill and make a difference with it.
Can you add a mask to it and take away some?
I could. So let's go ahead and go back to open where it started. We'll do Command J, put it on its own layer, do Command F. And for those that don't use Command F is run the filter again. It's a shortcut for run the filter. And so it's processing again. And processing, 39 more seconds. We could do another commercial. By the way, I am not affiliated in any way with Topaz, Nick, or any filter software, only Miller's Professional Imaging. I just am showing this so that you guys can have the pleasure of seeing it and decide if you want to use it or not. And we're up. Okay, if I go to edit, I can fade sharpen. So I could take it all the way down to 0 where it's soft, run it at 50%, 80%, or 100, either one. I'm going to leave it at 100 for now. You can put a mask on the layer, really easy. And let's say I didn't want the building right here. Hit B for brush, bring up my black color, and it's only set at 30% at multiply. I don't want that. 100%, just hit the 0 key for 100. And you can see, oh, wow. You can see how soft that got. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. And turn it off. Basically, to turn off the mask, you hold the Shift key and click on the mask. And you can see the difference in the edges of the building, etc. Big difference. But overall, I think that's now a nice sharp image as long as you don't zoom in too far. But that's like wicked cool. I mean, it's going to make me look good. Command W, don't save, go to bridge, and let's go to Atlanta, Georgia. This was taken at the PPA convention a couple years ago. Cell phone, of course. And I think there's a little bit of noise. In fact, that wasn't a cell phone. That was my little point and shoot Canon that can shoot in RAW. And you can see there's a little bit of noise. So how do we fix it? I'll do a Command J so you can see before and after. Well, somebody asked about Nick, right?
Yes, sir.
Is that in color effects or define? That's in define, right?
Well, they have something just called Sharpen at the end. Yeah, Sharpen Pro.
Well, yeah, and they've also got noise reduction as well. So let's zoom out a little bit. And zoom in right there. Okay, you can see the before and after. So we'll do Nick on this one. So I'll click OK. And this is Nick's version. So we'll name that layer Nick. Turn off. Do a Command J. Then we'll do Topaz Labs DeNoise. You always want to test your different softwares because some work better than others. Go single view. Severe noise, auto. I do most of mine running on auto so it can pick which one it likes. And then we shall wait and wait and wait and wait.
Michael, I got a question about Topaz DeNoise.
Uh-huh.
I noticed that you have the options of increasing or decreasing the noise as well as increasing or decreasing the sharpness.
This is correct.
And have you tried that compared to just using Topaz sharpening?
I have not. I did do an increase in sharpening one time in DeNoise, and it seemed to do a very good job of sharpening at the same time.
Okay.
I haven't really played a whole lot with it, but I know, you know, there's adjustments you can make on it, and okay, so this is DeNoise, Topaz DeNoise. This would be Nick. To me, it doesn't look like Nick did anything on their denoise or noise reduction. Topaz, on the other hand, did a fairly decent job, I think.
How many computers can you have it on?
I think when you did the adding of the layer mic, I think that changed the Nick thing.
It shouldn't have, because Nick,
because it definitely looks different now than what it did after you first processed it.
okay, let's do Nick one more time then. We'll do a Command J, go to filter, Nick collection, that was define. And let it analyze and run and do all its stuff. Okay. And this is Nick again, the second time.
Doesn't seem to do anything.
It's not showing anything.
Yeah, it's not showing anything.
Something's wrong there. Because DeNoise should drop a little bit of noise out of there. Let's try adding that. Okay, we'll run it the old-fashioned way then, where it does it itself, putting on its own layer. Okay, so this is Nick, and it took out a lot of the noise, but not all of it. And this is Topaz. Make sure I keep myself straight. And you can see the difference between Nick and Topaz. And then Nick in the original. So it took out a...
Can you put Nick and Topaz side by side?
Yes, if you give me a second.
You can have all the time you want.
Do, 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 do. Okay, make sure that's nice and ugly. Filter, Topaz Labs. Denoise Ai. Wait for it to preview to load.
While we're waiting, do you use these all the time?
Not normally, no. I have a little bit just playing around. I haven't really processed a lot of images using Topaz that much. I've done some sharpening with it, only because I needed it sharpened, and then other times it's like it's sharp enough for me. Come on.
They have a bundle that has the Sharpen, the DeNoise, and the Gigapixel.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever use that one?
I've never used Gigapixel. I only use Sharpen and DeNoise because it's part of the, when I first got Topaz, they promised lifetime updates, and Gigapixel wasn't in that lifetime update. And being the cheap person that I am, I didn't want to pay for it.
You buy the whole bundle?
Way back when at West Coast School, yeah, I did. Okay, let's go to arrange, tile vertically. And whoops. Let's get everything so we're apples and apples to oranges and oranges. Okay, on the left, you see Nick software, and on the right, you see
Topaz.
Topaz. I'm sorry, I was trying to concentrate. The foam on the beer on the left has a little bit less detail in it than the foam on the right, in my opinion. It's also got a little bit more noise left in it. On the left, which is Nick, than it does on the right, which is Topaz. So that's a side-by-side comparison.
It looks like the one on the left was blown up a bit more too. Now it's not, but it was.
Okay, let's make sure we get the same comparison then. I'm going to run it at 200%. Okay, both these are at 200% now. And you can see the difference. DeNoise did take out a little bit more. So, would I be happy with either one? Sure. But I like DeNoise better, much better. Don't save, hit tab. If you ever want to get rid of all your tools and your layers and everything, just hit the tab key and everything goes away. Hit the tab key and everything comes back. So if you need a full screen, you can do that. You can also hold the F key down a couple times to give a full screen. Let's go to Mr. Bumblebee. It's not too bad. It's almost sharp, but not quite. So what filter do we run? With this one, we're going to do sharpen. And I'm not going to wait for it to spool up. I'm just going to hit enter to get it going. And then we'll
Can you run this on if you buy it? Can you have it on more than one computer?
Yes. I think you're allowed 2 computers. I'm not sure 100%. It's either 2 or 3 computers, because I have it on my laptop and I have it on my desktop. And I'm very happy with it. I like it. I should have done, oh, maybe not. We'll see. Wait till it comes out. And
So because you have all of it, and they sell it separately, would you recommend the DeNoise or the Sharpen if you were going to just get one?
I'd recommend both.
Okay,
I
well, just check my way, okay?
I would probably go with DeNoise to start with, depending on what you photograph too. It just all depends. If you zoom in a whole bunch after you do it, you can see it's starting to look a little over sharpened. Go to edit, fade, move this out of the way. We'll start down at 0 and then build it up a little bit till it's just a little bit sharper. Probably 60–65%. Hit OK. And you have open and then the final. So you can see it starts to, on the flower, starts to get a little over sharpened a little bit. And so what I should have done is put it on its own layer and then mask out the flowers so the flowers are nice and soft. But you can see most of the hairs on the bee. And this was shot at West Coast School. Fantastic school. Sandra Pierce forced me to go to the Wild Animal Park and San Diego Zoo with her. So obviously I had to oblige and went with her. So we'll go back to normal size. This is at 8x10. You can see how fast it processed it. Full size image would take a little bit longer. Sharpen seems to be running slower than DeNoise. Car in motion. This was shot on an old Fuji S2, I think a 60th of a second. So which do I run first? Do I do DeNoise or do I do Sharpen first? I like to do DeNoise first, just, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Let's go DeNoise and we'll sharpen it in DeNoise, see how it comes out. I'm kind of experimenting a little bit today too, along with showing you the program. Severe noise, enhanced sharpness, we'll take it up to 80. Rerun the update. And they seem to do an update probably once every couple of weeks. They update the program. And we're rolling, 25 seconds to go. Any other questions while we're processing? You've got one. Okay.
What point and shoot do you use that shoots raw?
I have a Canon, well, it used to be a G9 before it got stolen out of my truck. I think it's a GX1 now. The Canon GX1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we did DeNoise and it took out a lot of noise up in the trees up here. You can see all the pixelation that's gone. It didn't really sharpen a whole bunch, even though I asked it to sharpen. It did a little bit, but it's not bad. And we'll go sharpen and run that real quick just for fun. I'm just going to hit process and run it. I just leave it on auto the whole time. You can pick out the best when you run the four up images and figure out which one works the best. If I do it and I have a question, I'll bring up the four images. In fact, let me show you something else after we do this. 10 seconds to go. So that's before, after. Just slightly sharper on a lot of the stuff. The lettering starts to pixelate a little bit, so you got to be careful of that. Let me go back into Sharpen real quick. One of the things to be aware of, and we'll go to View, Comparison. I thought there was a fourth one of these, but I guess not. But you can go in and determine if you want noisy, normal, blurry. I'm using my scroll on my mouse to zoom in and out right now, which zooms on all four. Let's go with very blurry, and we'll go with motion blur, and click OK. Let's see how it does. To me, the investment is worth it for both of them, especially when you got badass eyesight like me. I like to be able to sharpen my images that I screw up. Not that I screw up, but I do. Any questions while we're waiting for this to run? This one's going to be a while. It's 1:23 to go.
Yeah, I have one question, Michael. Have you figured out a way to keep updates to Photoshop from making your filter plugins disappear?
I have not. Most of my plugins will go with the version when it updates. When I update my Photoshop, I always keep one version behind. So this is version 21, which is what, Photoshop 2020. This is Photoshop 2021, I think. I always keep one version behind just in case. And then what I do, if I lose a filter or lose a plugin, I'll go in on my Mac, go into my applications, and then open up, say, Lightroom 20, or excuse me, Photoshop 2020, find my presets, get the one I want, and then let's go ahead back to applications, go to Photoshop 2021. And then what I'll do is if I'm missing one, I will drag it over from here over and just drop it in. And it seems to work that way. I'm not sure how that would work on a PC.
Yeah, okay, thanks. I use a Mac.
Okay. Okay, this time we did motion blur, and you can see where it says Campus Motorsports on the back. It was so bad, it just really messed it up even worse. But some of the other stuff is nice and sharp. The 71, some of the background. So here's your original image, and there's the sharpened image using motion blur. So I would say probably have to mask that off a little bit, or you'd have to do some Photoshop mixer brush and stuff to bring in the Campus Motorsports, or figure out a way to make it look good. But all things considering, I think I did okay on that. Don't save. And we've already shown denoise and everything already enough. I think you get the picture. Any questions?
That's cool. I'm going to have to look into those.
Definitely look into it, see if it's the right investment for you. And I've played with a couple of them on a couple of images, and you just gotta figure out if it's going to work for you or not.
What does the Gigapixel do? I noticed that if you do all three, it's a cheaper bundle.
The Gigapixel basically enlarges your image, so you can take an 8x10 and make it a 16x20, and it's supposed to keep it clear. I haven't played with that yet. I know that Photoshop does fairly well with that. And it seems when I do updates with Photoshop, most of my filters will come with. Occasionally my Nick filters haven't come with, and I just drag them over like I showed earlier, and they pop in. So, questions?
Well, this doesn't have to do with Topaz, but when you
Okay.
go to your Photoshop updates, and not the one that's the 22.4.2, but the one that's the 21.2.9.
Okay.
What is that?
Okay, let me go into desktop. So what we have, 21.2.9 is version 2020, and 22.4 is 2021. So
Right. Did you have to update that? It's asking for an update for 21.2.9 if I've already done the 22.4.2.
you don't have to. I do the updates just in case. I don't know why. Maybe I'm afraid something's going to happen because it has in the past. But I always update when they asked for an update on that. I update it. I try to keep these up to date. If something goes wrong, I'll go back a version, which I've only had to do once. I still have one issue with Photoshop. I can't do videos yet. I've been trying to export videos from Photoshop, and it just won't allow me to do that. And it's supposed to, but it don't.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Michael, have you
Yes.
played around at all with Topaz Studio 2?
The Topaz Studio? I haven't used a lot of the Topaz software for a while. Most of the stuff I use is the Nick software. And Topaz has, well, you got Topaz, and you also have in fact, I didn't even load. There's another one that I don't even have on here, but I have not played with Studio at all. Is there something I need to be aware with that?
It's kind of fun. You can get all sorts. It's kind of like Luminar,
Okay.
and has a whole bunch of different broad features that you can use to, oil effects, you name it.
Oh, okay, cool. I guess maybe I'll have to play with it again soon and figure out what we got. Hard to do this and keep a life at the same time because you get sucked into your computer. And I've been painting stuff like Sandra Pierce after doing her class last week and playing with that and trying to keep my skills going there.
You mean there's something else? There's something else besides the computer?
Not
What?
really.
Let me know. Let me know that secret.
Well, considering next week we won't be on. In fact, let me pause recording.